Dear students, today we shall study the second lesson, that is the three questions which has been prescribed for the 9th standard class. Yes, okay. These three questions is written by Count Leo Tolstoy, and Count Leo Tolstoy, his lifespan is 1828 to 1910. 1828 to 1828 to 1910. 1910. So he was born in the year 1828 and died in the year 1910. He was a Russian novelist. Novelist means one who writes the novels, and also a moral philosopher. Okay, Tattvajnani. Then he ranks as one of the world's greatest writers. So he has been ranked as one of the greatest writers in the world. And his work, War and Peace. His work, War and Peace. War and Peace. See, it has been hailed as the greatest novel ever written. So it has been considered as one of the greatest novel ever written. Then his ability to weave the stories. So he was well known for weaving the stories. It means constructing the stories, and his wonderful characters. And also he was the creator of wonderful characters. He used to create many different wonderful characters, and his narrative capabilities, and he is also a good narrator. Then his narrative capabilities are appreciated in every part of the world even today. So, dear students, I shall ask you one question. So, what you have to do if you want to be successful in your life? Yes, I repeat, what you have to do if you want to be successful in your life? Students, you may thought like that. See, you should be goal oriented. We should be work according to the objectives of the goal, and you can say you should be focus on the aim. Focus on our aim. And you can also tell that you have to be smart worker, and you can also tell that one should make efforts, a lot of efforts to get success in our life. So one king, he had got three questions, and he was searching for the answers. He was seeking for the answers because he thought that if he knew the answers to the three questions, then he would never fail in his life. So, dear students, now let us know the lessons, the three questions. So, what were the three questions, and what were the answers given by the wise man to these questions? Now, let us see that. A king has three questions, and he is seeking answers to them. Yes, already I told you, the king has three questions. And he thought that if he knew answers to these questions, he would be successful in his life. And what are these questions? Let us study in this lesson. The thought came to the certain king that he would never fail if he knew three things. Yes, a thought came to his king. If he knew the answers to his three questions, then he would never fail in his life. He would always be a successful. But what he have to get the answer? What were the answers? Now let us see. The thought came to the certain king that he would never fail if he knew three things. So what are those three things? That is three questions. Let us see. What is the right time to begin something? Suppose if you want to begin any work, then what should you consider as the right time? When you have to do when you have to start the work, whether in the evening, whether in the afternoon, or in the evening, or else in the night. So what is the right time when you have to start the work? So he needed a right time. So he was in search of the proper time, you can say. Then who should a king listen to? Yes, the second question is, to whom should the king listen to? So, to whose words he has to listen? That was the second question. And what is the most important thing for a king to do? So, what is the most important thing that the king has to do in his life? So, these were the three questions, and the king was trying to seek the answers for these questions. So, I consider these questions like this. Which is the most important time? Most important time. Then, who is the most important person? Then what is the most important work? So let us see what are the different answers given by the wise men to these questions. So in order to get the answers to these questions, the king sent messengers throughout his kingdom, promising a large sum to anyone who would answer these three questions. Yes, the king, who was very eager to know these answers, he sent the messengers. Messenger means a person who carries the message. So he sent the messenger throughout the country. So he wanted to get the answer, and he also promised to give a lump sum of amount who gave the correct or the proper answer. The king promised. Then many wise men came to the king, but they all answered his questions differently, as the people were also very eager and they tried their level best to give their own answers. So, but whatever the answers given by the people were completely different. The king was not satisfied with these answers. So, in reply to the first question, that is, what is the right time to begin something? So if you want to start any work, if you want to do any work, what is the right time? So for that question, some said that the king must prepare a timetable. Yes. Answer to the first question, the king should prepare a timetable. Prepare a timetable. Prepare a timetable. Prepare a timetable. So some said that the king should prepare a timetable and then he should follow it strictly. Yes, in the schools and in the colleges we will be having a timetable, and the students will be having a timetable. All the prints runs according to the schedule. So some people said that the king should prepare a timetable. So is it possible for a king to go according to the timetable? No. Then others said that it was impossible to decide in advance the right time for doing something. So others said that it was impossible to decide in advance. Impossible. Impossible to decide in advance. Decide in advance. So some answered in this way. He said that a king should the king should decide in advance the right time. So he said that the king should decide to do a right time in advance, but it is highly impossible to decide the right time in advance. So the king should do whatever seemed necessary at that time. So whatever it seemed urgent or necessary at that time, the king should act according to that. And yet others said that the king needed a council of wise men who would help him act at the proper time. So others said that king should need a council of wise men. Council of wise men. Council of wise men. So council here means a group of people chosen to advise the king. So some others said that the king should have a council of wise men, so they can advise the king when to do and how to do and what is the right time. But others said that there were some other things which could be urgent also. So some said that these are not the correct answers. The king should act according to the time. These things would not wait for the decision of the council. Some others said that it is not necessary for the king to wait for the decision of the council. The king should not wait for the decision of the councils. He should take his own decision and act according to the situations. In order to decide the right time to do something, so it is necessary to look into the future. Some said that you have to look into the future. Look into the future. Look into the future. Some said that the king should look into the future and only the magicians could do that. And they also said that in order to know the look into the future, then you have to consult whom? The magician. Then, in answers to the second question, some said that people most necessary to the king were his counselors. So, what is the second question? Whom should the king listen to? To whose words the king has to listen? For that answer, some said that the people most necessary to the king was his counselors. Counselors means Mantri Mandala, the group of people chosen for his advice. So he has to listen to that voices of the counselors, he said. Then a few others choose doctors. Few others choose the doctors. Doctors, they take care of the health, and before doing any work, they have to decide when to do and to whom what to do. So the king should listen to the doctors, some few others said. And yet others said the soldiers. Yes, first the king should for the answer for the second question. Second question, these are the answer for the first question. The king should listen to the doctors. The king should listen to the doctors, some said. And some said that they should listen to the counselors. Then the others also said that they should listen to the soldiers. The king should always listen to the soldiers, because the soldiers, they safeguard our country, they protect our country. So the king, they are the most important person, they are the most important people. The king has to listen to the soldiers. Some answered like that, and some others said the king should listen to the priest. Yes, priest. The king should listen to the priest. Yes, in the kingdom, the priest has got a very high post. So he advises the king in all the difficulties. So people said that the king should return to the priest. And to the answer to the third question, some said attack. Answer to the third question. So what is the most important thing for the king to do? Most important work. Most important work is, some said that to attack. To attack was the most important thing. Then he decided to seek the advice of a certain hermit. So some others also said that they should have the religious worship. The king should have the religious worship. Religious worship. So the king should undertake the religious worships and for the welfare of the pupils. So the answer to the third question was like this. Then the king was not satisfied with all these answers. As these answers to the questions were so different, the king was not satisfied. He decided to seek the advice of a certain hermit who was widely known for his wisdom. At last, the king decided to visit the hermit. So, hermit means a sage who leads a simple life. So, hermit, we can say sage, sannyasi athva sadhu. So, he is known for his wisdom. That hermit, he was known for his wisdom, and the king decided to go and seek the answers from the hermit. So the king put an ordinary clothes and went to meet the hermit. So in order to get the real answer, he went to the king in an ordinary dress. So why he went in an ordinary dress? So if he goes in a rich dress, then the hermit would have not given the proper answer, and that hermit did not allow the rich people to the hut. So in order to get the correct answer, the king put on his ordinary clothes and went to meet the hermit. Before he reached the hermit's hut, the king left his horse with the bodyguard and went alone. Yes, before reaching this hermit's hut, so hut, a small house built with branches of trees and leaves. Gudisalu. So, before reaching the hermit's hut, he left besides his bodyguard. So, he went alone to the hermit's hut. As the king came near the hermit's hut, he saw the hermit digging the ground in front of his hut. He greeted the king and continued digging. So, the king, in order to know the answers for these three questions, he went near the hermit. Then the hermit saw him. Then he did not answer him. So hermit saw the king and he started digging the digging the ground. He greeted the king and continued the digging. Yes, when the king greeted him, he too also greeted and he started continuing his work. The king went to the hermit and said, I have come to you, wise hermit, to ask you to answer the three questions. And he repeated the questions. Yes. For what purpose the king had come there, he went and told the hermit everything. He said that he has come to the hermit to get the answer for his three questions. And he repeated the three questions. So what were the three questions? What is the right time to begin? Something else. And to whom had to the king listen to? And what was the most important thing for a king to do? Then the hermit listened to the king, but he did not speak. Yes, the hermit, he listened to all the three questions, but he did not speak. Then, you are tired, said the king. Let me take the spade and work in your place. So, when he did not get the answer, the king tried to convince him. So, what he did is, he said that, you are very tired and let me take the spade and work in your place. So in order to get the answer, he was helping this hermit. Thanks, said the hermit, giving the king his spade. Yes, the hermit said, thank you very much, and he gave the spade. When the king had dug two beds, he stopped and repeated his questions. The hermit gave no answer. So the king took his spade and he dug the two beds, and once again he asked the questions and he asked to answer to those questions, but the hermit gave no answer. The hermit kept quiet. Then 1 hour passed, then another. The sun went down behind the trees, and at last the king stuck the spade into the ground and said, I came to you, wise men, to get the answers to my questions. So if you can give no answer, tell me so, and I will return home. So 1 hour passed, and the second hour also passed, and it became noon, and at last it became the sunset. The sun was going behind the trees, and at last the king, he stuck the spade into the ground and said, I have come to you. If you know the answer to these questions, you please tell, otherwise I shall go to my house. Then, here comes running, said the hermit. The king turned around and saw the bearded man running towards them. So, the hermit says that, look there, a man who is wounded, he is coming near to you. So that is, he was a bearded man. He was wounded badly and he was running towards him. Then his hands were pressed against his stomach, from which the blood was flowing. So that bearded man, he was wounded by someone else, and the blood was coming out from his stomach, and he has pressed both his hands against the stomach and came running towards the king. When he reached the king, he fainted and fell to the ground. So when he came near the king, he was fainted and he just fell down. The king and the hermit removed the man's clothing and found a large wound in his stomach. Yes, the king and the hermit, he removed all his clothes and dressed him. Then he saw the wound. The wound was very deep. The king washed it and covered it with his handkerchief, but the blood would not stop flowing. So he removed all the clothes and he saw the wound and he cleaned it and he covered it with his kerchief. But the blood did not stop. The blood would not stop flowing. The king redressed the wound until the last the bleeding stopped. So once again, the king again he dressed it and he tied it over his clothes, and at last the blood stopped. The man closed his eyes and lay quiet. Yes, now the man he lay quiet and he closed his eyes. The king tried by his walk and work he had done, lay down on the floor and slept through the night. Yes, the king who was very tired because he had left and walked, and also he had dug the beds. So he was very tired. So then he also lied down beside that wounded man. So early in the morning when he woke up, it was several minutes before he could remember where he was or who the stranger bearded man lying on the bed was. So early in the morning when he got up, then he saw the wounded man who had already got up and waiting for him. So, "Forgive me," said the bearded man in a weak voice when he saw the king was awake. So when the king got up, the bearded man asked him, "Please forgive me." The king said, "I do not know you and have nothing to forgive you," said the king. The king was surprised by his by his sayings. He said that, "Please forgive me." The king was surprised, and the king said that, "When I don't know who are you, how can I forgive you? You don't know me, sir, but I know you." The bearded man, the wounded man said that, "You don't know me, but I know who you are. I am the enemy of yours who swore revenge on you because you put my brother to death and seized my property." So the bearded man says that, "I am your enemy." Why? Because the king had killed his brother and taken his property. So in order to take revenge, that wounded man had made a plan to attack on him. But the day passed and you did not return. So I left my hiding place and came upon the bodyguard who recognized me and wounded me. So the bearded man said that he wanted to take revenge on the king. So when he was waiting, it became evening and the king did not return on that way. So getting fruitless, so making useless, then the bearded man he came out of the hiding place and he was recognized by the bodyguards, and the bodyguards they wounded him. But I escaped from him, but I should have died if you had not dressed my wounds. Then the wounded man said that, "I escaped from your bodyguards. When I came here, if you did not dress my wound, I would have perhaps died. And now you have saved my life. Now, if I live, I will serve you as your most faithful servant." Then the bearded man says that, "Now you have saved my life. So, I will serve you the whole life and I will be the faithful servant," he said. Then, the king was very happy to have made with his enemy so easily and to have won over as a friend. At last, the king felt very happy because at last he had made a peace with his friend. So he not only forgave him but also promised to give back the man his property. The king said that, "You don't worry, I will give you the property back to you and you live in peace." The king was also happy and the wounded man also became very happy. Leaving the wounded man, the king went out of the hut and looked around the hermit. So now the king had come to the hermit to get the answers to these three questions. So he started searching the hermit. He came out of the hut and looked around the hut for the hermit. The king went up to the hermit and said, "For the last time I beg you to answer my questions, wise man." The king said that, "For the last time, this is the last time I am going to ask you. Then you please tell me the answers." Then the hermit said, "You have already been answered." As the hermit said that, "You have already been answered." Then the king was surprised. He asked, How have I been answered? What do you mean?" So how I have been answered? You please tell me. Then, "Don't you see," replied the hermit, "if you had not pitied my weakness yesterday and had not dug these beds for me, you would have gone away. Then that man would have attacked you. So the most important time was when you were digging the beds." Yes, the king said that, "I have answered the first question." What was your first question? Which is the most important time? The most important time was when you were digging the beds. If you had not pitied on me yesterday, if you had not come, and if you had not pitied me, and yesterday if you had not worked in place of me, then that man would have killed him. So the important time was when you were digging the beds. This is the answer for the first question. And the man should have attacked you, and the most important time was when you were digging the beds. And I was the most important man, and to do me good was your most important business. And the answer to the second question, who is the most important person? So at that time I was with you. I was here means the hermit. The hermit was with the king, and the hermit was the most important person. And answer to the third question, what is the most important work? So doing good for the hermit was the most important business. Yes, doing good for the hermit. We have sent to this world by the Lord to do good only. So doing good for me was the most important work. Then that is the answer for the third question. Then when you were the another important time was when you were carrying the wounded man. When the man ran to us, the man most important time was when you were caring for him. Yes, again the most important time was when you were caring or dressing the wounded man. That was the most important time. And at that time the most important man was the wounded man. So, and the caring for him was the most important work. Caring for the wounded man was the most important work for the king, and that was the most important business. Remember, there is only one time that is most, and the time is now. It is the most important time because it is only the time we have any power to act. And the hermit says that the most important time is the time that is now. The most important time is now. Now is the most important time because it is the only time when we have any power to act. So now you have got any power to act. At that time only you have to act, and that is the most important time, and that is the now. The most necessary person is the person who are with at a particular moment. So when you are with whom, at that time that man becomes the most important man. Whenever you are working with another man, the person who is present at that time is the most important person. Then the most important business is to do the person good, because we are sent into this world for the purpose alone. So the most important business is you have to do good for all. That is the most important work, because we are sent by the Lord in this world to do the good deeds only. So here these three questions are even applicable to our daily life. Suppose think that students see, now you are attending the class, this is the most important time for you. And whatever I am telling you, that is, I am the most important man. And whatever you are learning, whatever you are taking down, that is the most important work. That is according to you. And according to me, then what is the most important time? This the most important time is what I am telling you. That is the most important time. And most important person is myself, because I am with you. I am with you and I become the most important person. And the most important work is to teach you. Then that is the most important work. I do good for you. I teach you. I do good for you. That is the most important work in our life. So these three questions are applicable to our life also. You have to apply to these questions to our life also. And one thing you have to remember is that we have sent to this world by the Lord to do good only. So you have to do good. So at last the king got answers to these questions, and then he ruled the kingdom very happily. So these three questions are very important, and you have to apply these three questions in our day-to-day life and work accordingly. Thank you very much.